ZWEIG Group invites all AEC industry leaders to the 2024 AEC Small Business and Entrepreneurship Forum, the premier event for small firms in the AEC sector. Experience innovative strategies and insights on May 21st, crafted by ZWEIG Group's industry experts. Engage in keynotes and interactive sessions focused on recruitment, retention, and business growth. Join ZWEIG Group for this unique networking opportunity and take your business to new heights. Secure your spot today and be part of the AEC industry's future. Visit zweigroup.com for more information. The ZWEIG Group team looks forward to welcoming you.
Welcome to the ZWEIG Letter Podcast, putting architectural, engineering, planning, and environmental consulting guru Mark Zweig's straight talk in your ear. Mark has more than 30 years of experience helping AEP and environmental firms thrive. And these podcasts help deliver his invaluable management, industry, client, and HR advice directly to you, free of charge. The ZWEIG Letter Podcasts let you develop professionally, wherever you are.
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining ZWEIG Group Media and the ZWEIG Letter exclusive interview series. With over 25 years of continuous coverage of the design industry, the ZWEIG Letter is a consistent source of valuable information in an ever-changing marketplace. I am here today once again with none other than our own Mark Zweig. It is so hard for me sometimes to corral this guy. He's so busy. He does so many different things. He's teaching. He's running two businesses, traveling and on the road. And every time I try to get him pinned down for an appointment to do a podcast, it's like gold. I told somebody earlier today. So I'm excited to have Mark back with us for another episode of the ZWEIG Letter Podcast. And today we are going to talk about making your firm a truly great place to work. And Mark, it's funny when I originally read this article, and this was from the January 9th issue of the ZWEIG Letter from January 9th of this year. It's issue number 1182. But you talked specifically about what it means to making your firm truly a great place to work. And I would just, I mentioned that in the Becoming a Better Recruiter series because I recognize that in order to retain the best talent, you have to create a fertile environment for them. And I think most not every workspace does do that and does stimulate real growth. But why don't you talk about your ideas of what you think it takes for firms in the design industry to truly be a great place to work?
Well, I think, let me just start out by saying that while the work itself should be very satisfying to people, if they're trained as architects and engineers and they get to do things, they get to design things, they're important things. They change the world, they affect people's lives. That's fantastic, but the companies themselves many times are not very good places to work.
Yeah.
They're in some cases driven by very fragile egos who hog virtually every single relationship with a client and claim credit for everything good that happens. And that's not a good place to work by any means. Or conversely, they could be companies that have, a lot of inertia, but no real passion about what they do. And the people there just kind of go through the motions and there's no real sense of purpose or excitement. And that's not a great place to work either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's there are a lot of problems out there. I think companies really need to focus a lot more on the purpose and kind of always bringing it back to why the company's in business and what their real mission is and how they really help improve the world. And it's got to be more than you're just working for your pay and your benefits. And that's not always easy. I'm not going to say that it's always easy to instill that higher sense of purpose. But I think it's essential. What I don't think is great is really, ridiculous, employee longevity awards, employee of the month, special parking place, a plaque on the wall. Those kind of things don't really mean much.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny. I mean, every firm has their own, unique identity or footprint or fingerprint, if you will, in terms of how they operate, their culture, what they do. And the one thing that I've taken away in terms of being involved with the design industry is that obviously no two firms are alike. So what makes one firm a great firm might not be the same thing that makes another firm a great firm to work for. And so, what would be some singular ideas that you might have that any firm could really employ, areas that you've seen multiple firms make mistakes in when it comes to just creating an environment for success?
Well, I mean, you really have to make an effort to recognize the people who are doing good.
Yeah.
And that's, unfortunately, most companies sort of blend everybody together of a particular category or experience level salary wise, and then they think they're going to reward their best people with their bonus program. And I'm not sure I'm a big advocate of that. I think it'd probably be better to pay better salaries to those people. And the bonus program should probably be more socialistic. And if it results in an unfair situation that somebody's getting money they don't deserve, then they either need to be reformed or they need to be taken out of the company. So lots frequent pay reviews are critical. I think continuous feedback is critical as opposed to annual performance appraisals. Having people having mentors that really help them in a meaningful way, and that's difficult to mandate, but it's ideal when it occurs. Basically mentors and mentees have to find themselves. I think it's difficult to just say, you are Bob's mentor. Well, Bob may not relate to you, or you may not relate to Bob.
Right.
Right. But I think those things are very important. I think it's important to have a company that says we're going to grow and we're going to be profitable, because if they don't, then they're not going to be able to have additional rewards for people, and they won't have other places for people to progress into. Everybody's stuck then.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And a lot of companies in our business really don't commit to that. They still think that they can be, as another one of our competitors used to put a seminar on, staying small successfully.
Right.
Okay, well, it's a cop-out. I mean, you can't stay small. If you do, you're not going to have good people over the long haul.
Right.
That's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, like I've heard the expression, if you're not growing, you're dying. And, I think that can be applied both in our personal lives as well as in our professional lives. So what do you see happening, in the near future? I just really sense some major changes afoot in the design industry and the way firms are operating and kind of getting away from this old line school of thinking. We've interacted and worked with a number of firms that are just kind of coming up with new ideas and new ways to not only do business, but also to engage their employee base. And are you seeing anything out there that really stands out to you as far as that's concerned?
As far as engaging employees?
Yeah.
Well, I think, having the open book management, so everybody really knows how the company's doing, that's really super critical.
Yeah.
It gets people plugged into what's going on. Getting everybody involved in the business planning process, I think that's really critical to, make them feel like they're part of something else.
Right.
I could go on. I mean, I think, those things are important. Bringing people along with you. I mean, you want to talk about making a great place to work, it's all about developing your skills.
Yeah.
So if you have people who are good at something, let other people come along and see it. Spend time with them. Those are the things that really matter ultimately, I think.
Yeah, and I know you've mentioned to me a number of times and kind of tried to hammer it home that you should be out there as a leader. You should be out there looking for the next successor, the person to take over for you so that you can move into another role. that obviously is another important thing to try to do. I know some people can be insecure in that space and not be open or willing to do that. Do you think that will ultimately impact the overall growth of a firm if they have leaders that are like that?
Well, of course. I mean, if they hog everything, if they can't part with anything, if they're better than anybody else at anything, then those people will never develop.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of companies like that. I mean, let's face it, we're in, if you can call it an industry, it's made up of a lot of people with a real craftsman mentality.
Yeah.
They take pride in their work, in their quality, and nobody else is as good as you are at a task, at first. But if they have a chance to do it for a while, they may actually be better than you are.
Right.
That's that's the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they know how to use modern tools and you don't know how. Maybe they have some other skill that they bring to it that you don't have. So it's interesting. I do think the culture is another factor. It's what do you reward, what do you punish, and those are the things that based on your personal orientation about what's important, could determine whether it's a good place to work or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they reward the stuff you think's important?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of that is just leadership making sure to kind of find out what really makes people tick. Learning more about their predilections and things that they're predisposed to being excited about, and figuring out ways to address that. You used to talk a lot about management by walking around, and how does that play into the whole the idea of creating this outstanding work environment?
Well, it's all part of it. People want to feel like they're engaged with the owners or the leaders, and so those people need to make an effort, I think, to get to know people at all levels in the company and seem like they care and be human.
Yeah. And
show an interest in them. It is important to people. If they don't ever get that, then they start feeling like, oh, this is not, it's not, they don't, it's not going to be a place I want to be in the long term.
For the long term. Yeah. Yeah. And, I notice, I have the, as you do, we visit a lot of firms' locations and get to see many different office setups. And I'm noticing more and more managers and leaders setting themselves up right in the cubicle or right in like a pod or an area with everybody else on a team, just so that they can be closer to the action and also just kind of keep a pulse on, what's really going on in the company, as opposed to kind of settling themselves back in a C-suite, if you will, or behind closed doors. So
yeah, I think that's good. That does make a difference. It also just makes people think that you're not special or unapproachable.
Right. Right.
Just get out there on the floor with them.
Yeah.
You hear what's going on. I think it's good. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we've talked about a number of different things here, and so you did mention salary. We talked a little bit about benefits and how people might be compensated. And I know one thing that you've always been a big proponent of is from an open book management standpoint is making sure that people get what they are supposed to get. And so is there anything else that you can think of that in your mind that you think firms need to kind of be mindful of when trying to attack this idea of making their firm, or identifying the areas of weakness within their firm so that they can actually be a great firm to work for?
Yeah, I think that a lot of them, we go to a lot of offices. You've been in a lot of offices over the years, so have I. And the truth of the matter is a lot of them are just dumps. They put people in dark holes.
Yeah.
And it's depressing. And they're surrounded by old stuff and too much paper, and nothing's organized, and the carpet's dirty, and the lunchroom's dirty, and the lobby's got 2011 issues of ENR dog-eared on the coffee table. Half the lights are burnt out, or that's an energy saving thing. That's why we're not replacing those bulbs there.
Right.
I think there's you got to make the place so it's cheerful and it's bright and it's fun and it's it's good to be there. It's organized. It doesn't suck you down into negativity, just the physical environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Natural light, very critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously that's quite a bit to think about. And certainly I would encourage people to check out that article in the ZWEIG letter, because, even the thing that I really enjoy about your editorials is that you really, you don't necessarily go too deep on a specific subject, but it's enough to really start thinking about and kind of spurring thought. And that's really what, that's what most of our articles in the ZWEIG letter do, even outside of the ones that are just purely informational. But this gives some direction, and you've done that quite a bit with pretty much all of your editorials. They're always pointing out the elephant in the room or something else that we should be focused on or we should be thinking about as we grow and continue to expand our organization. So that's really helpful, and I hope some people can take something away from that in terms of making your firm truly a great place to work. The other thing that Mark didn't mention, and I'll close with this, is simply that when you make your firm an inviting place where you have employees that want to be there, happy employees, satisfied employees talk about their experiences, and they will share that with other people. And so you really want to keep that in mind, because if the best person in the world to talk about your firm and why it's so great are the people that work there. If they don't believe that, trust me when I say this, they will never open their mouths and tell anybody else about the firm outside of the people that they work with. So part of making your firm a truly great place to work affords you the opportunity that your people are probably, if they're happy where they are probably going to tell other people about it. And a lot of times that's how you can generate opportunities to hire additional talent to help grow your organization. It's kind of like the circle of life, but part of that circle starts with you making your firm a truly great place to work. So keep that in mind and take that for what it's worth from one recruiter to another. For those of you out there that are hiring managers of your organizations, and hopefully that will help you out. Listen, Mark, thanks so much for sharing with us this week. We really appreciate it. Folks, I just want to remind you that you can get Mark's no-holds-barred advice on a weekly basis in the ZWEIG letter and our sister publication, Civil and Structural Magazine. Because you are a podcast listener, we want to thank you with a free gift. And I'm going to share that information with you in a moment. As a reminder, all of ZWEIG Group Media programs like this one are available in both podcast and video format, free for download on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube, just to name a few places. We'd like to thank you for listening or watching this podcast episode by offering you a free copy of the ZWEIG letter and a year subscription of Civil and Structural Magazine. Just visit free.tzl.zweigroup.com. A link to all of this information, including contact information for Mark, as always, will be in our show notes. And we certainly want to encourage you to take part in this, and we really appreciate you guys. We would really appreciate if you would share this podcast with a friend. And also, if you have time and you're on iTunes, we'd love a review. Just let us know what you think. If you like it, great. If you hate it, tell us that too. If we need to fix something, we'll do it. We're getting great emails from people that are giving us terrific feedback that help us to continue to refine and perfect this podcast. So thank you again so much. Listen, I'm Randy Wilburn, and you've been listening to ZWEIG Group Media, part of ZWEIG Group. Remember, we exist to make you more successful. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to this ZWEIG Letter podcast. We hope that you can apply Mark's no-holds-barred advice to your daily professional life. For a free 6-week subscription to the ZWEIG Letter, please visit freetzl.zweiggroup.com to gain more wisdom and inspiration, in addition to information about leadership, finance, HR, and marketing your firm. Subscribe today.